this meeting. We'll begin the evening with a moment of silence where you all can pray, meditate, or just enjoy a moment of silence to yourself. Thank you. If you'll please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We don't have anybody signed up for public comment, but is there anybody that wishes to speak during the public comment period? Hearing and seeing none, moving on to the approval of the minutes, council. Any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes presented? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Motion.
Okay, a motion to approve the minutes, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the minutes, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion carries and the minutes are approved. Moving on to updates from council if there are any. No updates? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, we just have the tax refunds on there. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make the motion.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion carries and the consent agenda is approved. Moving on, discussion item number 4. I don't think Mr. Hill is here, but as in regards to mowing during campaign season, I did a little bit of research, and what I can tell about Senate Bill 391 is that prohibits DOT from mowing state highway right-of-ways during, I think, 2 overlapping periods. So 1 is the entire month of May, and 2 is a time when political signs are permitted, so it's defined as 30 days before early voting starts through 10 days after the election. So that means mowing must be paused during all of May, and also in any of the sound allowed corridors during the campaign period that fall out of May. And so what I got is the entire month of May would be the first primary primary window, which is July 13th through March 13th, 2026. The second primary window, if that's needed, which would be March 24th through May 22nd, 2026, and then the general election sign window, which is September 15th through November 13th, 2026. So I think he brings up some valid concerns, and so my suggestion for right now would be maybe reach out to our legislators and see where they're at on it, and see if anything's going to be changed in the General Assembly. If they don't seem like that's going to be going forward, perhaps we do a resolution at some point. That's inappropriate to everybody?
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Then moving on, we'll reach out to Tim and Jennifer about that.
Mayor, are you going to reach out? Or
I'll
do you
reach
want
out
us
to him. Yeah, I'll reach out to him. All righty, moving on to item number 5, the presentation from the Love and Respect Community for Recovery. We have Ms. Turner here, and the podium is yours, and the floor is yours. And thank y'all for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
And whoever else wants to come as well. Oh, yeah. I saw some hesitation there. Y'all all welcome to get up.
Name's wearing this blue, lady.
Yeah.
Mayor Blakely and Town of Fletcher Council, we appreciate the opportunity to come before you to introduce ourselves to you and what it is that we do. I'll share with you that I am a resident of Henderson County, just down the street on Fanning Bridge Road. But the business is located in Metro Hendersonville. And what Love and Respect Community for Recovery and Wellness is a recovery community center for those who are living with substance use disorder, persons who are living with mental health diagnoses, treated and or untreated, and returning citizens from incarceration. We are all what is considered North Carolina peer support specialists, which means that we have all undergone specialized 50-hour training and are certified through the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill School of Social Work. In addition to the 50-hour training, we are required to complete 20 hours of continuing education hours, and the certification is for 2-year increments. And what lived experience means is that there would have been a time you would have invited me, you know. And there would have been a time if you invited me, I thought you was going to try to lock me up, you know. Well, you guys are a tough crowd. What I'm saying is, a peer support and lived experience. I lived on the opposite side of the law for some time. I used substances. I'm a person in long-term recovery with over 20 years of uninterrupted recovery from substance use disorder. And what that means for me is that within these past 20 years, I've been able to return to school, graduated from Shaw University with a bachelor's, a BA in sociology, cum laude, however, and have taken the things that I've endured and lived through to help the next individual that may find themselves in the same vicious cycles and endless loop that I did while in active addiction. And I'll pass it to Lydia, who is the Director of Operations at Love and Respect. Our physical site is at 350 Chadwick Avenue in downtown Hendersonville, just off of Spartanburg Highway. We invite you to come by. We have a peer living room, and this is where those who may be experiencing homelessness, those who may be just going through any of life's circumstances, can just walk through the door, talk to people who are just like them. You don't need a referral. You don't need an appointment. You just come on in, and we can begin to provide services, whether it be our own personal lived experience and or connect you with other community resources. And I'm sure, you know, I'm shouting in the wrong church because Fletcher ain't got no drug problem. You know, y'all just, you know, perfect up here in Fletcher. But we just want you guys to know, we're going to give you information about who we are and what we can do. We don't mind providing street outreach. I know that little stretch over there by the Acura place, those hotels and stuff like that can kind of get off the chain a little bit every now and then. And we plan to put some of our literature there, speak to those owners and let them know that, you know, when circumstances arise and they see people that can utilize our services to direct them to us. With that, I'll pass it to Olivia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So just to go over some core information about our organization, our mission is to transform lives, restore families, and help create a healthier community by providing peer support to those living with substance use disorder, mental health diagnoses, homelessness, or from returning from incarceration. So Lexi did a great job explaining that we are all peer support specialists and talking about our peer living room. The peer living room is kind of the heart of what we do, but it's not all that we do by any means. It does create a safe environment, a non-judgmental environment for folks to come in. They don't have to have insurance as well for any of our programming. We never ask them to pay for anything. We never ask for insurance, no paperwork, no documentation, anything. So it's an extremely easy organization to access. So our services are available to anybody at no cost, but we do have a primary focus for vulnerable populations and marginalized populations, primarily the BIPOC community. So the reason kind of that we're here and why we sat around and decided to talk to you guys today is because of our street outreach program. I'm going to let Marco talk about their program a little bit, and then I'll get more into logistics about the organization. But we're hoping to come into Fletcher and start providing our services to Fletcher, which we're super excited about, and he can talk a little bit more about what that will look like.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
As you can see, that beautiful van right there hosts for individuals that are misplaced, substance misuse, as well as mental health diagnoses. Being able to be out there with the community and have that one-to-one support with individuals that are still out there. We have tents, sleeping bags, hygiene products within that van. You know, since they can't, let's say, transport over there, we can be close. to those individuals and be able to help assist them and help them in what we can and do for, and the resources that are out there.
And what mobile outreach is, we take what we do there at the physical location, is we just put it on wheels. And we provide one-on-one peer support. We provide some of the items that Marco talked about. And oftentimes, people say, well, you're encouraging that. Here's the thing, whether we give them a tent, a sleeping bag or not, substance use is not going anywhere. And they'll sleep on the ground. So if they're gonna sleep on the ground, why not look at the humane side and give them something to sleep on while they sleep on the ground? Ultimately, our goal is to be in a position to lead them to a pathway of recovery. Substance use disorder, untreated mental health is something that you can't just turn your back on and hope that it goes away. It's here, it's real, and I think if we all take a close look, I believe there's probably like 1 degree of separation. If it's not in your actual family or extended family, you know someone who these things have impacted and affected. And what we aim to do at Love and Respect is to humanize. Because I didn't raise my hand in kindergarten and said I want to be a drug addict. It is something that as my life progressed, as a teenager, young adult, befell me, and I got caught up into the vicious cycles and endless loops. And one of the things that I remember mostly is being treated inhumane, being treated less than. People would look me in my eyes, they would talk down to me, and at the end of the day, I'm somebody's son, I'm somebody's brother, I'm somebody's nephew. I am a human being. And just because the circumstances of life that I find myself in doesn't give anybody else permission to treat me indifferent.
It's always so hard to follow him. Yeah, and another thing with street outreach services is that we've kind of partnered with the City Police of Hendersonville to start to answer to some of the calls that would be placed to them. So we're getting the word out to business owners that if there's someone unhoused who may be in a mental health crisis or intoxicated that isn't necessarily doing anything wrong or illegal, but they can't be there, our street outreach team will answer that call. And so we've already gotten calls from, like I said, Hendersonville, but also Laurel Park Police has called us, and we've been pretty successful at connecting with the individuals, relocating them, getting them somewhere safer. And yeah, that leads me kind of to the next program I wanted to tell you guys about that could positively impact Fletcher residents, which is our Cheyenne Nicole Respite House. This is a temporary place for individuals to go that are in transitions to wellness. And so oftentimes what we see, we also work in the detention centers, and oftentimes what we see is individuals will be incarcerated. They will be waiting on their insurance to hit on the 1st when they can go into treatment, but it's the 26th and they just got released. So their choices are to go back where they were, possibly have the chance of getting into a shelter, but most likely go back onto the streets or back into where they were using. And so that's a great scenario for this house, is a place that individuals can go in those transitions to wellness. And that looks different for everybody. Lots of people will meet criteria for this. It is a 5-day stay, 24/7 staffed by peer support specialists. We're doing intensive resource navigation with the individuals there, making sure that they have all the items that they need on their journey wherever they're going, and making sure that they are de-escalated from any kind of mental health crisis or any crisis that they're dealing with going into the respite. So we're really excited about the launch of that program. We're hoping in the next month we're going to open the doors and start taking clients. And it's just another kind of leg of what we do that we're really excited to see launched. So I'll kind of try and fly through these, but some of the things that we do is we connect individuals to community resources. I would say probably 70% of our services fall under resource navigation and connectivity to care. It's those warm handoffs, those strong partnerships that we have with businesses and other nonprofits that can make this happen for the individuals that we serve. So we can connect them to long-term treatment, recovery housing, detox, residential treatment, yada yada, I can go on. But basically any need that we get, we can usually fill it with a community partner. partner. I had a probation officer call me the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, one of my people are in trouble. But she just called because she was like, I was just thinking about it, and since I met Love and Respect, every single weird niche need that I've had that no other organization could fill, you guys were able to make happen, which was a really cool thing to hear. We also offer groups in our drop-in center. These groups vary, and we also let our space be used by 12-step fellowships afterwards. So like when we say it's a community center, it truly is, and community partners are always in and out of our building, which we feel extremely grateful to be able to offer. We do in-house groups, so we have a reentry from incarceration support group. We have, during the hurricane and still, we have a natural disaster support group. We have AA meetings, NA meetings, art groups, and we also have more trauma-informed, trauma-led groups as well. I like this analogy, but basically what we do is we start with planting a seed of connection and encouragement for the population that we serve. Oftentimes that does look like a tent or a cup of coffee and telling them that someone loves them, right? So we plant that seed, and it usually doesn't flourish immediately, right? It's sometimes a year, 2 years of just giving them coffee and saying somebody loves you. Eventually that kind of evolves into supporting them. They come in and say, hey, what was that meeting that you told me about? And they might go, they might not, but that's usually the second step. And then we look at recovery. So what that means, I had a participant who I was working with for like 2 years, would not hear anything about recovery, just wanted coffee, right? He did not want to hear it at all. And after about 2 years of no, 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 he got incarcerated one last time. When he got out, he walked from the detention center straight into my office. The admin was like, whoa, where are you going? He just bursted into my office, and he said, I'm ready to go now, but it has to be right now. So that encouragement and connection can lead to that trust and rapport that we form, which is also, you can't find that typically with anyone other than people who have been through the same thing that you have. So that's why it's just so important to have peer support specialists in the community, which leads to wellness and success oftentimes. So these are some of the other organizations that we collaborate with to make things happen for our participants and to make sure that our participants are succeeding and have everything that they need. We've got a whole lot. We love Full Circle, Thrive, Safe Light, all of them.
And I'll share that Dogwood Health Trust is the one that gave us startup funding, which was about 4 or 5 years ago. They believed in us when we made the presentation to them, and part of that presentation was that within that upcoming year we would see at least 400 contacts. I'll share with you that
6,000. Yeah.
Six months into the very first year, we had well over 6,000 contacts. Mm-hmm. And the community partners believe in us. Mm-hmm. And again, we took what was at the time something what we thought that was bad to us and for us, and now we've taken that and utilizing it to reach other people. And the peer support model is unparalleled because nobody knows like someone who's been there. Yeah. We have the people that will jump down in the hole with the person and say, listen, come on, I know the way out.
Absolutely. So I would love to hear any questions you guys have for us, but also please feel free to follow up with us. Check out our website. If you have any communities in mind or individuals that might be seeking services, of course, all of our services are voluntary, but we would love to offer them that support, connection, resource navigation, and we would love to hear from you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, question. I think I saw the Henderson County on one of your community partners. Is that the reference to the sheriff's office, or what does that look like with the county?
So police.
Sheriff's office.
We have an awesome relationship with the city of Hendersonville and the chief of police.
Okay.
He personally stops by, makes donations, and even has encouraged us to file for a city grant to do extended hours. He came to me and said, look, Lexi, we're in the business of locking people up. We know how to do that. We do that very well. What we don't necessarily have time or the understanding is when someone is downtown in front of Hannah Flanagan's, hollering at the top of their lungs to the sky or talking to a light pole, what do we do then? That incarceration doesn't help that. Taking them up to Pardee, they'll sit there for a couple of hours, somebody will come down and do an assessment and they'll be released. So we are in the plans of extending our hours and having peers on call. And your police officers may find that very same thing. Up in Jackson County, the sheriff said, listen, if someone is wallowing in the mud, that's not a crime. You know, that's a mental health disorder or something going on that far, you know, is beyond their scope. You know, police come in, take control of the situation, execute the law, so on and so forth. But if they have someone else besides the hospital to refer them to, they are very appreciative of that. So again, these services are not exclusive to the city of Hendersonville. These same services are available to you all if you find the need. We can bring literature, business cards, so on and so forth, that the police department may want to give out or what have you. But, and I'll share with you that we are not only in Henderson County, we're in Polk County, Rutherford County. We have an awesome relationship with the Sheriff Department and Care Coalition in Transylvania County and Rutherford County. We're in Rutherford County as well. So the work is being done. It's being appreciative, and you know, we're making a difference.
Well, also, I'm really appreciative of the work y'all do. I think people so often get caught in this revolving door where they're just not able to get the support that they need, whether it's substance abuse disorder or mental health disorder, whatever it may be, and it's really unfortunate. And so what did the relationship building look like with the city of Hendersonville, and how did that happen, and what does it look like today?
How did it come about? So, just Jody Grabowski, and just showing up. We are invited to the Mental Health Roundtable. We are invited to the County Crisis Collaborative, DSS, unhoused resources. So just by showing up and being invited to these tables, Chief of Police has, noticed our consistency, and he's very proactive when it comes to addressing these issues, unlike some who just think locking a person up is not going to get a person clean. This is something that you can't, punitive consequences is not going to change the course of this. It's going to take somebody who understands where that individual has been to work with them, because oftentimes what you see is the manifestation of ACEs, adult childhood effect, things that just stuff that have gone on that are unaddressed issues. And it's manifested in self-medication through substances, and we know that sometimes prolonged substance use can bring about mental health diagnoses, can cause psychosis and so on and so forth. And we, having that experience, we've been there, and we know the right places to send these people. So we are really grateful for our relationship with the city of Hendersonville, and we're working on the Sheriff's Department.
Okay, I got it.
We work with, there's zoning and enforcement as well. We work with multiple different entities within the city. So with zoning and enforcement, they're working with street outreach, letting them know when there's an unhoused camp that needs somebody to go out and look at and possibly support that, or else law enforcement will be coming. So we answer to those calls, and I think that we're kind of connected in multiple different ways and just strengthening the bond every day.
And that's another thing, businesses were calling us instead of calling the police. So we've had several calls where a business owner said, hey, I got somebody sleeping on my property, and I don't want to call the police. And they'll call us and we'll come. And typically right there in Henderson, there's somebody that we already have an established rapport with. And we'll talk to them and say, listen, you can't do this, you're trespassing.
Yeah.
These people don't want to lock you up, and we'll bring them to the center, we'll feed them, whatever, so on and so forth. So I think we're making a difference. And again, I can't say enough that the relationship between us and the city not just the chief of police, but all those that came from the city, city attorney, or the Lord City, city manager, all of those came to our center and had a sit down with us and said, listen, let's work together.
Yep. Perhaps may be useful to talk with our town manager and our police chief to see where collaboration makes sense. And if it does, then maybe we can work with you all. I think you all doing really good work.
I was just going to suggest, if you have any contact information even tonight, our police chief's here,
Okay.
and you can drop that off with them and get acquainted, so.
Absolutely.
And with you guys' permission, like, if we can work something out, we don't mind. That van is very visible. And we don't mind taking it on, what's the name of that road, Wood, something?
Underwood?
Underwood.
Underwood. Okay,
And
yeah.
just, parking somewhere there to make the resources available. You know, if Muhammad won't go to the mountain, you bring the mountain to Muhammad. You know, and just let them know, listen, you don't have to continue living like this. If you want to do something different, we know the way. You know, so again, in recovery, I say it's not for those who need it, but for those who want it.
Yeah.
And we just want to make sure that when they're ready, like she said, especially with substance use, when a person is ready to give up and throw in the towel, you have to seize the moment. You really, really, really have to work within that window of opportunity and try your best to get that person the resources that they need.
Wonderful.
I know it
Other
takes-
questions? Oh, go ahead, Karen.
So I know it takes a special kind of people to do this, and, you know, I can say personally, thank you for everything that you're doing, so that means a lot out there, I know, to the folks out there for that, so it's awesome what you're all doing.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Do we have?
I have some of our brochures.
Sure.
Can I bring them up to you?
Absolutely.
Well, I can say I did the law enforcement side for 26 years and just retired.
Thank you.
And I watched mental health be an active part in this community, and then it went to regional mental health and disappeared. And I'm glad to see at least some resource coming back on the local level that's available to the local people, where they're not having to look at transportation
To go
miles and miles and miles and counties away, so thank y'all.
Just get lost in the system.
Thank you for having
Right,
us.
thank you for
Thank y'all.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
All righty. Next, we got a lot of papers here. Moving on to item number 6, the selection of individuals to fill the vacancies on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. And one addendum from last week, we said there were 3 open seats, there's actually 4, so 1 that's expired or expiring, and then 3 open seats, so we'll have 1 additional seat that we'll be able to appoint. And I'm just gonna pass these ballots for council. And if you would, Amber, I can't remember if you've done this before, but just mark your selections and sign it at the top.
Okay.
Just pass it down.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, we make it easy. It is unanimous, so we have 4 candidates, and the 4 candidates that we're going to appoint are Katie Taylor, Patrick Nord, Richard Haskey for reappointment, and Joanna Spindola. And so if we could just have a motion to, can I do this all in one motion, Christine? Yes. Okay. Can I have a motion to appoint Katie Taylor, Patrick Nord, Richard Haskey, and Joanna Spindola to the Parks and Recreation Board?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, folks.
Congratulations.
And moving on to the selection of the representative for from Fletcher to serve on the Water and Sewer Commission, and I'll just make a couple more comments about that while I pass these ballots around. I talked with Chairman Lapsley last week, and he mentioned that the uncertainty was based on our based on our two legislators in Raleigh, and I know they have some concerns or questions about the interlocal agreement, and so they're trying to decide what exactly that they're going to do about that, if they're going to make some changes on the legislation that's vastly different from our understanding from the interlocal agreement, and so we'll have to wait to see what that looks like, but from my understanding right now, Bill asked me, or Chairman Lapsley, asked me to recommend somebody, so I'll recommend that person tonight, and after we recommend that person, we just need to talk to them, and you still need to do the application online through the county, but from my understanding, you'll be appointed, as long as it still continues to go forward. And it is unanimous, Mr. Mitch Brevard, so I guess we don't need a motion for this as long as we have understanding this is for the county, right? Okay. Mitch, if you'll hang around for a second, I'll talk to you at the end. All righty. And then our last appointment is for the ABC Board, so we have two candidates here. There's two there. Alrighty, and it is unanimous. Ms. Rachel Nord will be appointed to the ABC Board. So do we have a motion to appoint Ms. Rachel Nord to the ABC Board?
Make a motion?
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries. Congratulations.
Congrats.
All righty, and Chief Justin Tom, moving on to item number 9, the presentation on 2024 crime rates and police operations.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Really, this is nothing more than just kind of telling you what's going on at the police department, what we've been up to, how things are looking, and really creating an opportunity for you to ask any questions about your police department, so you know what is happening and what our ideas and thoughts are. So this is really kind of an opportunity for us to have some face time with you to ask questions. We thought we'd take advantage of that considering the crime rates recently came out. So the crime rates are fairly delayed, so just this last month we got the 24 crime rates. So in August of 25, you get the 24 crime rates, and then hopefully by next August we'll have the 25 crime rates. So these are already stale. But I'm happy to report that the crime rates, 424, the lowest that we've seen here in the last 17 years. They're likely the lowest much longer than that. That's just as far back. 2008 is as far back as I can find records for. So it's possible they could go back to 2005, 2000, I do not know. But the last 2 years, 2023 and 2024, have been the lowest since 2008, which is obviously it's trending in a good direction. I look at the numbers every month and compare last year to this year. So the first week of September, just last week, I looked at January through August of 25 and compared it to January to August of 24. And so I can tell you we're trending downward again. So if things continue as they have been, I'm expecting the 25 numbers to even be lower than the 24 numbers. Of course, we still got 4 months, and a lot can happen in 4 months. We did have a bad weekend, just this last weekend. We got a few marks against us, but these things happen, but we're hoping we'll continue to trend down. Don't want to pat ourselves on the back too hard. The numbers aren't out statewide, the numbers aren't out nationwide. Well, the FBI did put out some nationwide numbers, but I'm waiting for the state of North Carolina numbers. And they're not, the official numbers aren't out, but what I'm seeing in the news, and you can read various articles, they appear to be trending downward as well. So that seems to be a trend, therefore I don't want to pat ourselves too hard on the back. But obviously it's going in a good direction, it could be going in the opposite direction. And we're happy about that. I arrived 4.5 years ago and began working here, and as I said then, I'll say again, it's been a blessing to be a part of the town of Fletcher and the opportunity to do what we're doing. I'm very content, happy with the direction things are going. I'm very happy with the police department and the people we have working there. When I arrived 4.5 years ago, there was a lot of what we saw. I think the biggest complaint we were getting from residents was some of the disorder and some of the people wandering around town and creating some of this disorder, and sometimes we called them, the walking zombies, and the Love and Respect group that was just here could probably, recognize what we were dealing with. And that was our biggest complaint. People were concerned about that, and I think we've done very well to focus on that. I don't see the same amount of disturbances and disorders and people going in restaurants and creating disturbances. We still get those, but I don't think it's as frequent as we once had. We're not finding the homeless camps and such as we did 4 or 5 years ago. We're not seeing the just open drug use and stuff like that. So I think we've done very well in that respect. The biggest complaint we're getting these days would be traffic related, and traffic complaints can be quite frustrating because everybody has a different complaint. And you got the people on the bikes who just think they should be able to rule the road, and then you got the people that don't think a bike should be anywhere on the road. And we can't necessarily please both of those groups all the time. So having to navigate traffic complaints sometimes can be challenging. And we'll get complaints about the people cutting through, people that aren't residents cutting through and blowing stop signs, and we'll go over there and conduct some traffic stops, and 9 out of 10 times it's going to be a resident, not people cutting through, that are blowing those stop signs, and then they're upset because they don't get a ticket to live there. But that is actually a good problem to have. So if your biggest issue is traffic, we try to manage that. Again, it can be frustrating. That's pretty good because they're not so uptight and upset about crime and the disorder. And so we've seen that change, and I think it's a positive thing because I'd rather handle some traffic complaints than some of the bigger problems that some other cities have and other towns and big cities have. So I think we're going in a good direction. Most of you are aware we've had some hiring issues over the years, and at one point in time we were 6 short. And in early 2022, as we were preparing for the 2022-2023 budget, you guys graciously approved 2 extra officer positions. And we finally added that last body about a month and a half ago. And so our last officer is in the academy. He'll graduate in December. He'll go into training, so he won't, it sounds terrible, but he won't do much for us until May. But he is the last body, and we are completely full if nobody else leaves. And so I think that's a great accomplishment. There is a point in time sometime in the near future where I'd like to add a body if you guys would graciously approve that. If you recall, when we had, this might have been 2022 as well, we had some people leave. We had 2 lieutenants, and we promoted one of those lieutenants to a captain. We had 1 captain, 2 lieutenants. We changed that, so now we have 2 captains and 0 lieutenants. And at that point, I had said that I don't anticipate a need to have 2 lieutenants come back, but there's 1 position at some point will probably come back. With this officer in the academy, we are, patrol is good. I think patrol is going to be sitting in good shape for quite a long time. But just the nature of the business becoming more and more complex with technology, even just simple things like keeping cars in order have become a challenge. Keeping cars and your equipment in good shape. And with body-worn cameras, there's a ton amount of video that is saved in the server, and then we have to monitor things. And so we do have room for, I think, for some supervisory and some more logistical help to make sure we continue to handle our operations on the street so that we can continue to keep these crime rates going in the direction they are. I think, and I don't have any documentation to back this up, you probably will support when I say this, though. I think just looking around and the feeling when it comes to traffic is getting worse and more congested, and with that comes problems. We got some subdivisions and apartments and things being built, And that's going to add, obviously, more population and probably more calls for service. And when it comes to what we've done with keeping these crime rates down is, there's really two aspects. And calls for service is one. And calls for service, you can't, when someone calls 911, you have to be able to go. You have to have the manpower to go. And we have that. And the flip side of that coin is the proactive work that we do, being out there, being visible, taking action against, violators, confronting suspicious people. That is what's going to give you more bang for your buck, and keep those rates down, keep the people that we don't necessarily want in the town creating chaos and disorder. That is what's going to keep them away. That is what's going to catch those people. There are studies that say, towns that have more traffic enforcement have lower crime rates because the bad guys see the lights all over, the traffic stops all over, and then they go, the risk is higher, we're going to get caught there, so let's go somewhere else. And so, yes, we have got to have enough officers, and when someone calls 911, there's an emergency, they need us, we have to be able to go. And so if all of a sudden, we're getting too many calls, rather than adding bodies to the police force, we can always tell people to back off their proactive, self-initiated work. You can always do that to stay available for those 911 calls, but I think that is where you're going to lose a lot of what we have. We have a trained group, a well-trained group that is committed to the mission and I'll talk about our culture here in a second. And they're out there, they're diligent, they're looking for anything that might be arise, suspicious persons, violators, and they're addressing those. They're not always addressing those punitively. It's not always, people aren't always going to jail. A lot of people get warnings. The majority of our traffic stops end with warnings. They're not out there to abuse our citizens, and so I think they treat people well. But there's two sides of that. You got the calls for service. We have to have manpower for that. But I think the proactive part has a significant effect on those crime rates and the quality of life in the community and what people see. The community, as far as I can tell, unless you're hearing something different, is very supportive of us. I hear all the time, which is wonderful things. Every community is not created equal. I've been to places and I've heard of places that you won't get that isn't like that. So I'm grateful. That makes it much easier to do what we do when we have a supportive community. Certainly you guys have been supportive as well, and that is another key piece. So we are up to staff with this recent hire. So that is a good thing, and so we're hiring for the culture. And so we're looking for a specific culture here. We're looking for people who have hearts to serve. We probably hire, well, I shouldn't say probably, I have the data. We hire between 20 to 25% of people that apply at the police department. So we only hire 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5, because we are pretty particular about who we want. There have been some people who have left us, and they're good people. I'm certainly not complaining about them. They're good people, they're good police officers, but maybe they just didn't fit the culture, wanted to do it the way we wanted to do it, so they chose to go elsewhere, and that's okay. I think that served their interests better, and it served our interests better, and I still have tremendous respect for some of those people, but I think what happened is meant to happen, and I think we're better because of it. But because of our culture, I think teamwork, we have 3 values: professionalism, dedication, and teamwork, and we really harp about that teamwork, and we work very well together. We all have different positions, we all have different ranks, make a little different money, but there really isn't one person who is any more important than the other person. If we all play our roles, it works, and we're successful. And I'm grateful for everybody that we have. We have a new admin assistant who started recently, and I think her work ethic is very good, and I think she's going to go on to be a very valuable piece of the police department. We recently, a little more than a year ago, we hired a part-time evidence custodian. She's doing a wonderful job. Evidence obviously is a high-risk area that can get us in a lot of trouble, and so she's staying on top of that. And then, our officers and our detectives work so well together, and hopefully you're seeing that when you read the monthly reports. They're out there making some complex arrests and unique stuff, but they do very, very well at that. And I think that speaks to the culture and our ability to work as a team. Reference those crime rates, just so you understand, this last year, 2024, the crime rate was 1435.3. So what that means is, if Fletcher had 100,000 people living in Fletcher, we would expect 1,435 of them to have been victimized. And so when we report crimes when we fill out an incident report, we list the offense is automatically sent to the state. State gathers all that information, they report on it, they also report it to the FBI, to our federal partners, and that is used to compare different locations throughout the country. You can compare states, you can compare towns inside states, so that's kind of how that crime rate works. Is there any questions for me about anything that I've talked about so far that you'd like me to expound upon?
Is there more in your presentation, I guess, before?
Is there more?
Yeah, before I ask my questions?
Not really. I just wanted to make sure you had opportunity to ask questions, so you know what's going on. I'll thank you for your support, and you know, you provide great support for us.
Yeah.
You know, we get emails sometimes when, you know, guys do a good job, and we recognize that. I did want to point out down here, I'm guessing you have this agenda item, it's a letter, a memo that I put together. It talks about ensuring staff are paid appropriately. I wanted to touch on that for a second, because I didn't want that to be taken as a complaint on pay.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my questions, the things I saw down there.
No. That was, last year we had the pay study, and I think you guys did a great job, and I think we're in very good shape with that, so that I wanted to make sure it wasn't perceived as pay. What I'm basically saying is going forward, what can we do to continue to maintain what we have?
Yeah.
And those are the things, you know, continue to support us, and just be mindful of pay as time goes on. Occasionally, we got to take a peek at it. If you want people to respond professionally and act like professionals in the community, they got to be trained like professionals, they got to be paid like professionals.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think we're in good shape. You handled that last year, and I'm grateful for that. And I wanted to make sure it was perceived that way, and you didn't look at that like, here we go again. No, it's not a good point.
Well, first of all, your last bullet point says to recognize you all for your positive performance, and I certainly want to do that right now, because you've been here for 4.5 years. I just heard you say, and I think you've done an incredible job, and the department really shows. I mean, we talk about the town of Fletcher, there's two departments that I think are really on the front lines, and people see on a day-to-day basis. It's y'all and Public Works, and those are two departments we always hear wonderful things about. So, for one, thank you all. You've done a wonderful job.
Well, I will tell you, I am getting old, and I'm slowing down, and my mind doesn't work like it once did, and so I'm going to give the credit to those guys out there wearing the uniform, guys and gals who are doing the job. They do a tremendous job, they make me look good, and I still get excited just sitting back and watching what they do and seeing them make a difference. They do make a difference. I said that, you know, I think across at least the state, probably the country, crime trends are kind of trending downward, which is wonderful, but there's no doubt in my mind that it wouldn't be as good as it is today if it wasn't for them accepting the mission and putting their hearts on their sleeve and taking care of business.
They do a wonderful job. And my other question was going to be your reference, training opportunities. Are there specific trainings that we could support you all in, or did you have anything specific in mind?
We're kind of doing that already. So a couple things going on is this budget year, I asked for a couple thousand more, and you approved that. Whether you knew it or not, you approved that. So that's good. That gives us a little more cushion. We can do some more stuff. Unfortunately, some of the stuff going on with the Justice Academy, the state training, it just hasn't been really up to par, in my opinion, the last few years.
Yeah.
They don't have as many classes. They don't even have basic classes, and sometimes they'll schedule a basic class and classes, when I say basic, that we want all our people to have. It's kind of like Police Work 101, you need to have these right out the door to be able to perform as we want you to perform. And, you know, they don't have that many options, and sometimes they'll schedule a class, we'll sign people up, and they will cancel. And that happens frequently. We're canceling classes last minute. We got people ready to go to class, and now they don't have class. So what we have done, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's some wonderful, wonderful training out there. And so we've started sending some people to some conferences. I know there's people up here who've been to conferences. That's not only that good training, but sometimes that's a good morale builder, because they get to go do something neat, get out of town every once in a while. There's a conference at the beach, and you know how that goes. Hopefully they're in class.
Networking.
Yeah. So there is, so it's the issues with the Justice Academy and some of the problems we're having there has forced us to start to look for training classes elsewhere, and there's a lot of good stuff out there. And so we have been signing people up, and they're excited, they like going, but that usually comes at a cost. You usually have to pay for those classes, or you got to send them far away where they have to have room and board, that type of thing. But we are working on that, we're being creative with that, and you approved, Detective Sergeant Diaz attending the National Forensic Academy. That's a big deal, and that was a big cost. You approved that, and that's added tremendous depth to our, to our agency and what we can accomplish. And so we're looking for other little opportunities and great training out there. So it is, I would say it's even better, but it comes with cost.
Wonderful. And then my last question was going to be, I guess more of the social aspect. What did you think about Love and Respect in their presentation? Do you see space for partnership or collaboration there just initially based off of what you heard?
Yeah, well, I've never heard of them, and it kind of, listen to them, it kind of sounds like, it seems like they've been around and have been involved in lots of stuff, but I had never heard of them. I will tell you I wouldn't disagree with anything they said at all. To quote the Bible, Ecclesiastes, it talks about, whoever was among the living, there was hope. And, a live dog is better than a dead lion. Now, what does that mean? We tend to think of lions as, these strong, fierce creatures, but when they're dead, they're nothing. And so it's better to be a live dog than a dead lion. And so as long as, what I take from that, as long as you're alive, tomorrow can be a better day. And that's basically what they come up here and said is, we had hard times and we struggled in our lives, but we're better today. And I buy into that 100%. As long as we're alive, we can make better decisions and we can fix, be a better person tomorrow. And so there's nothing they said that I would disagree with at all. They did give me some brochures. I'll probably make time to go visit with them. We're very connected, and I believe it's in this month's report. We did a letter of support for the drug court there in Henderson County. They're doing some very, very good work. We're very involved with them. We have gone and we sit in on some of the drug courts to kind of see what's going on and to support that. And so I think we work very well with that. And I probably will reach out to Daniel, who coordinates the drug court, and see what he knows about them as well. And I'm not against going out there and visiting with them. So everything they said, I agree with. I think having a peer to talk with is going to be a lot better than me talking to them. I mean, they're definitely going to react better and have better chance of accepting services from a peer, somebody who's kind of lived that experience and is there to help them. You're going to have more credibility that way. The only thing I would add to that is, when there's people out there, if we can provide a service and they need help, we're always ready to help them. A lot of times they're not always ready for that help. Yeah. And I have to draw the line, and I'm not sure how we respond to this, but when their behavior, their choices starts to negatively affect other people, communities, and cause harm to other people, I can't stand by and just say, well, he's a victim, he's in bad shape, we're just going to let him take advantage of somebody else. Yeah. So that's where I kind of have to draw the line. Now, if that person's ready to wake up, make better decisions, get help, I'm all over it. Let's help them. And so I would be very open to working with them, recommending the people to their services. If we have a situation where they can come out and help, and come here in their van and provide service, I'm also, once we vet them and we know what we're dealing with,
yeah, sure,
then I'd be happy to add them to our list of services for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
No, that does make sense, yeah.
And I probably will. The fact that they came here with the courage to say what they said and said, we've been through tough times and we're trying to help people. I think having compassion and some mercy should be a part of anybody who puts this uniform on. And so I probably will make time to go, to talk to them a little bit more, so I know a little bit more about them and they know a little bit more about me if there is something. If we can make a difference in, one person, two person, three person's lives, it's a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal. Other questions or comments?
Go ahead.
When the chief shared the stats, and, it was the second consecutive year that was lower, I got kind of excited about it. I'm like, it's a good, and we've talked before about this when the one came out last year, and I'm like, you should come and talk, or I don't know, not overly promote it, but share it with the community. And, he's like, well, you got to give this some balance to what, the data doesn't tell the whole picture. You can have crime go up, crime go down, and just sharing crime statistics doesn't tell everything about what's going on and where you're at. So I thought this was a good opportunity, and I think y'all would find that this evening, and anyone else here watching this, to hear what's going on in the police department and how they're doing things day to day, and the culture and the practices day to day that are happening. So I think that's been, as I've observed it as manager here, very helpful under Chief's leadership, and you can see it in the culture of the officers that work here, and the community,
Yeah.
I think, that largely supports the police department. So anyways, I just wanted you to know, we weren't pushing this to, hey, these are great crime stats, you know, pat on the back, but just more what's going on here, too.
Trevor?
Oh, I was just going to segue what you said about your folks earlier, is I know that they are representing Fletcher very well at the Mountain State Fair. They're doing a phenomenal job, so I see them over there doing lots of stuff, so they're doing a great job, so they're outstanding, so it's a little plug right there for them, feel past
And
that.
I'm gonna put a plug, because I've had the unique opportunity to listen to them do some of these under-the-radar operations at Ingalls, dealing with the shoplifting issues and stuff. It's impressive, even from my background, to sit and listen and watch them. And I'm just in awe all the time of how you and your staff have been able to take a small agency and make such an impact in Fletcher. And it does come from teamwork, but it comes from good leadership too, and you've got a good group.
Yeah, as the sun sets on my career, and I'm not saying I'm going anywhere anytime soon, but I'm definitely towards the end of it. It's kind of been a very interesting, maybe experiment to see. We are such a small department, but that doesn't mean we can't do big things, and I would argue, we're one of the best around. And it ties into support from the community, support from you guys, going back to, thinking about pay and people being well-trained. I mean, all those little things tied together make a big difference, and, I'm blessed to be here. They do a wonderful job, and so I'm grateful for what they do. And I'm hoping those numbers will keep trending downward, and our community will continue to be happy with the quality of life that we have here in Fletcher and the police department.
Wonderful. What questions, comments do we have for Chief?
All right.
Well done,
thank you for your
Chief.
time.
Thank you.
Sir. You know where to find me if you got additional questions.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the discussion of potential stormwater improvement grant program for private property owners. Mr. Manager?
Sure, I'll kick this off, and then as y'all have questions, comments on this. You should have, I emailed a couple things to you. The first was, and you have a hard copy on the dais here, just so you have it for your reference, but I know one of the follow-up things you wanted me to check on was how many of the other communities that we reached out to for other sample grant programs similar to what we're thinking of doing, how much they were budgeting, how much they were expending with their grant program to do these stormwater improvements on private property. And so I got responses back from the City of Salisbury, Town of Clemens, and City of Shelby. And you can see City of Salisbury has been doing an annual budget since they've been doing this of $25,000 a year. They've been expending through the grants that they do anywhere from, and they shared, 6-7 fiscal years here, spending anywhere from almost $10,000 to their highest year was $28,000. So they've been keeping it under the 25 and not quite hitting it, that they've been budgeting per year. And then we heard from the Town of Clemens, and they're a little bit closer in size to us, and they're budgeting $100,000 a year for a max of 10 projects. And last year they paid out just over $61,000. The year before that, $14,600 in grants, total grants. So they're getting about 3 to 5 applicants per year. And then the last was Shelby, and Shelby is budgeting $75,000 for this program. They're funding it through a stormwater utility fund, which it receives $1.8 million a year. So they're probably doing other physical improvements to their own infrastructure. Yeah, as a part of that. And they have a waiting list. They don't really have an average award, but some are as small as less than $10,000, and some could be very large, taking the full amount. I think they're working on commercial properties too, and you were interested in limiting this to residential. So I doubt we're going to see really large requests on residential property, maybe more so on commercial. So that was a little bit about what some other communities are budgeting and expending on it. Unless there's any questions on that, I was gonna then, the other follow-up item was, and I appreciate, having a draft here of a potential program to work with, and I think with some tweaks to this and, final review, we can get a lot closer here to rolling out an implementation plan. But I mentioned I was just gonna, I hadn't really had a chance to look at the draft very much myself. So I wanted to look at it, and our assistant town manager did, our public works director, and I shared it with our planning and zoning director. So they gave me a lot of comments back on it, and I kind of did a document up here that kind of summarizes those things. Under program design and eligibility, there's a suggestion, and I agree with this, to maybe simplify it. I mean, we can keep it as is, and ultimately you all got to prove what you're comfortable here, but it might be helpful to simplify those funding categories and maybe narrow it down to a 30,000 and 10,000, or and I know we have smaller awards up to 5,000 to be at the manager's designation, but it might be simpler coming out here for folks if we had it into lesser categories, and we can, work with the language as what qualifies for, like, imminent threats to property or just stormwater.
So basically have this one amount and just maximize it, and that's it?
Yeah.
We could probably do that.
I think that makes sense.
That's a suggestion, maybe
I think that makes sense.
to the 30,000, or maybe just the 30,000 and the 10,000, and that, the 30,000 one had to do with, it's a potential threat to a property. Most of these are probably going to be into the 10,000 category, which is, you have issues, you're trying to convey the water across the property, or, drain properly. So that was, I know we had a comment in here about benefit to the public, defining that. I think that's been fairly well vetted with these other stormwater programs. I don't know if we need to do a lot more work on that, but we certainly can bounce that off our town attorney. So that was under program design and eligibility.
So do we need to, like, eat this elephant one bite at a time, like approve the first piece and then the second piece? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, and that's fine, if you want to do it like that. I was gonna.
Let's go through the whole thing and we can
Yeah.
keep going.
And if that becomes cumbersome, try and do this all tonight, we can have like a work session or something on this in October, try and finalize it. But what I was thinking is, if you're comfortable with the suggestions, just say for the sake of argument, most of these, we can work on doing a revised draft to submit back to you. And then it can be back and forth.
Yeah, the quicker the better, because even if you wait,
Yes.
my opinion is,
Yeah.
if you wait till October, then you submit it out, then that's a month worth of,
Yeah.
say, just collecting applications, okay, now that's
Yeah.
rolling in November, then time you do it.
Yeah.
We're talking going into 26,
Yes.
and that's,
Yeah.
it's,
I-
yeah.
Okay.
But-
And what I was thinking, in light of that, is I'll have time this week to incorporate some of these revisions for whatever you're comfortable with, and get this going faster. I'm going to be out of the office too, coming up here shortly, so, yeah. I'd really like to have this, and per your input as well, for October, and see if you can be able to.
Like a
move
finalized
faster.
thing in October.
Yeah. If, as long as you're all comfortable with the language and the deal. So under the administrative and oversight issues, there's two ways you can do this. We have it set up so that the property owner is basically the project manager on this, so they gotta coordinate the bidding, contract oversight, quality control. That may be challenging for some residents to handle that, so there may need to be a fair amount of assistance from staff on this to not control or dictate how that's done, but maybe provide some assistance to them. So I'm not sure how that's all going to work. The other way is we control staff, the town controls the whole process, which there's pros and cons to that. I'm comfortable with the homeowner doing that, but I think there's going to be sometimes where they're going to need assistance on this.
Expectations.
Yeah, I mean, you might be comfortable, gym player, doing this soup to nuts, doing it all, but you might have, someone else has no clue where to start, but they have an issue and they want to apply.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the assistant stuff, like, and now us taking it over and doing all the other stuff, I was just kind of curious what our attorney would say if we do all of it, like you're saying, the other extreme, who puts the liability on that? It's like, well, the town said to do this and everything else, if something goes south.
Yeah.
That's want to make sure we're not liable for anything.
Yeah.
The assistance part, I kind of agree with.
There's pros and cons. I liked how Shelby's program, for example, they controlled the whole bidding process, everything.
And they paid for the engineer and everything.
Yeah.
So that's another part.
And I don't
right there.
know, do we want to be doing that, or do you think that's fair? I mean, especially if you do it 90-20. If you're doing this as a 90-20, 90% town, 20%, 90-10. 90 plus 20 is too much. But if you're doing it as a 90-10 deal with town 90 and the resident 10, that's pretty generous on that, and they probably should be, it may be a minor fee if they have to get an engineering firm in there to say, yeah, you need some swales here, and you need this.
And I know that's going to be, for me, it's almost like another barrier to, if you start hiring, you have to have an engineer firm and everything, it's just the opinion. But if you can figure out some way of our folks assisting and everything, but that's just my opinion, it's more money, it drives up and stuff like that.
Recommendations on culvert sizes, things to move that process along.
Yep. So, I mean, we can keep that as the residents doing it, but we probably want to have some technical assistance in there, and I know this is going to be a bit of a learning and balance, and we might wind up, but we will wind up making modifications to this as we implement it and see things that work better once we get a little further along. So that was one thing. This is just the housekeeping thing. The payment procedures need to be consistent. It was mostly referencing direct payment to the contractor, which I think is a much better than to the resident, and then them paying the contractor. There was some reference, I think, in the contract about payment to the applicant or something along those lines, that we could do some wordsmithing to that be clear that they're coordinating it, but the reimbursement goes to the contractor. Yeah, and I guess it's.
Well, I think we saw some of that even during FEMA, where some of that money was given to folks for specific tasks, and then it never.
Yeah.
So basically, like the money would go to the contractor's invoice.
Yes.
Yes, I think that's how it's kind of written a little bit in there.
Yeah, it is. But there was one reference, I think, and someone caught it, that was one of our folks looking at this, that was inconsistent. I only saw it in the contract.
Yeah,
There was
it
some-
could be.
The intent, though.
Yeah, it's because we used Gastonia and also Salisbury together, so it might have been an oversight right there, so yeah.
Yep, that's why you have a lot of people look at this.
Are you having also attorney look at it, is what you said?
I will.
Okay.
I want to get a draft together and then send that. I mean, we can send some of this, some elements of it at this point, but it'd be better to have a revised draft to send to them.
Agree.
The evaluation process mentions a stormwater team and advisory panel and town council review. This is a recommendation I made in here about the advisory panel, and this is just a suggestion. It can be comprised a lot of different ways, but maybe 2 staff on that, one council member.
I read it.
So, was there a question on
I just don't see that in the page you said, it might be missing.
Under administrative and oversight issues, that last paragraph.
Okay.
I said, staff would recommend a review panel consisting of 2 town employees and 1 council member. So they'd review the application and then make a recommendation to council to approve. And then maybe that stormwater team could be comprised of someone from our civil engineering firm to help with kind of some of the planning or review of an applicant coming in and looking at the property. So that was one suggestion, and that kind of how to set up that committee. And if y'all are comfortable with that, and we can tweak this, you know,
that sounds good.
between now and October. The staffing and technical review, this is just emphasizing we don't have the in-house staff with kind of that technical expertise to, you know, really go out and assess these sites to say, I mean, I'll compliment our Public Works Director. I think Javo Presley has a lot of knowledge
Yeah, I was gonna say,
to
he
go
comes with a lot of-
and give you suggestions that will probably work very well, just as much as a civil engineer. But there are some, and he would admit it, you know, limitations on review and, you know, running, if we ran formulas on slope and all that, it would be helpful to have a civil engineer. So maybe McGill.
So you think, can Jabba go out there and look at the project first and then say, no, this looks good, it's an easy fix?
It's out of my ballpark.
And then next thing you know, like, oh, this is a little bit more, we need to get that civil, he can make that decision right there and then get that engineer part of it, instead versus everybody has to have an engineer. Could be just a-
We could do that,
Yeah.
yeah.
He can make the
And if it's
call.
something really simple,
That makes sense.
that might be all we need.
Yeah.
We just want to be cautious if we're going out and reviewing it and say
Making
it looks good.
recommendations,
Yeah, make a recommendation. And we may, on some of these, say to the homeowner, yes, this could be done, but you, as a part of your project application, you may want to have a civil engineering firm. And it wouldn't be like a huge fee to do it, but it would be part of the project cost to review it, maybe make a final recommendation and some idea of the cost on it. They can give a good cost analysis, and then that be part of their whole project. So it may need that in some instances, just to help them do it.
I figure a large project, if they're just popping in a culvert, I wouldn't think you pay for an engineer. I mean, if you ask the engineer, you need an engineer, they're gonna say, yeah, you need an engineer, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these may be very
Yeah.
straightforward like that, but then in some instances, they might
Flow
want
rates.
that. And some people may be like, I know they trust local government, we appreciate that, but they may want a second set of eyes on something and be a little more paranoid about, well, what's this gonna do to my property, so. But yeah, some of it should be fairly straightforward.
Maybe, yeah.
And
ditch
sometimes
lines
it's
and rocks
not,
and stuff
you
like
know?
that, yeah.
And we want to be cautious to impact the adjoining property owners. I
I was
know
gonna
we have
say
that rule.
downstream.
We know we have the rule reasonable use, and that'll give us a lot of protection on this as far as a liability perspective, but anyways. So we really want to get them in and help with this as needed. So that's just under staffing and technical review. On the legal liability concerns, a couple things. I know it mentions where our program, and I think this is the way to do it, the long-term maintenance responsibility then would fall back on the property owner, but just that they're clear that they need to do that. And I know you can't force someone to do it. I mean, we could try and come up with some mechanism, but just that it's clear on it. And it behooves them to keep up with it too, for their
Yeah.
own property.
I know when they draft it, that they sign, when they sign it, they agree that they will be doing that.
Yeah.
So to me,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
takes the liability, yeah.
Yeah, and we have the whole held harmless liability language in there, and, the rule, and I'm glad it's a good piece that we have the rule of reasonable use articulated in there. It really, it's good public information for everybody to know about stormwater issues. It really is. So that helps to kind of mitigate some of that. And then, you know, just given some of the legal complexity of some stormwater issues, you know, our town attorney looking at this, I'd also like to bounce it off, if they'll do it. The League of Municipalities has a general counsel, and actually one of their attorneys called me back when I was researching this and provided some great information. I had a long conversation with him. He was telling me about Raleigh's program and so forth. So maybe if they'd be willing to do it, I know they defer to the town attorneys, but maybe in conjunction. And then a couple more things, the fiscal and timing considerations. I think I know there was some discussion last week or maybe prior about maybe seeding this with 100,000 to start. And a couple places that could come from is, you know, we have room in our annual budget within our 5-year CIP for the current year. There's some space in there right now, and, you know, we had more revenue appropriations than we had projects. So that it could come from there, or I mentioned the unassigned fund balance, that could be a source too, but and then moving forward, if this is real successful and you want an ongoing funding source, we could take it from CIP in succeeding years. So that was one thing about the 100,000, and we can maybe articulate that in implementation phase, or, you know, like getting the word out, marketing this. And then there was this comment about the invoices all being, and we appreciate that in there, about all the invoices being submitted before June 30, but there's going to be some spillover on this into the following fiscal year, so we may need to revise that language.
Yeah, that was already language in there. I guess other towns was just trying to kill it at the end of their budget year.
And we do want to, I mean, trust me, our finance office wants all that in well before June 30. Any bills for the activity in the current year, but.
Makes it easy on the auditor.
But there's weather and contractor issues that come up, and it's not neat and tidy like that. And you know, again, input from our review from our town attorney. And I'd like to bounce this off our engineering firm too and get their thoughts on this, on the draft program. And then the last thing under other considerations, and this is just some other kind of big picture things in relation to this with stormwater services in Fletcher. And, you know, we may want to have our engineering firm do kind of a full inventory of our town right-of-ways where we have stormwater infrastructure, and be thinking about like an ongoing list, kind of like we do with street resurfacing and Powell bill funds, but review our town streets, our town right-of-ways that we're responsible for the road and the stormwater infrastructure to see could we develop a list where we're working to upgrade or improve areas that need it? Because right now it's kind of it's a bit more reactive. Like if we have
As needed.
Yeah, it's like if we have a really bad drainage culvert, we need to try and fund it within Powell bill. And Powell bill's so our street maintenance monies, Powell bill is getting tougher to keep up with our rotating list of street resurfacing, especially we keep adding more streets with some of the growth. So it might be helpful to develop a list, and either from CIP, or, you know, if the town gets to the point of having a stormwater utility program, pulling, you know, the monies from that to work on this. So, and that also kind of leads into, as you do that and you make those improvements, it could open up other opportunities to do stormwater improvements on private property as that happens, because there could be some, no pun intended, spillover effects there from that, but, and then the last point was stormwater outfalls. You heard Eric Roof, our planning and zoning director, talk a lot about our MS4 permitting, and we mapped the stormwater, well, we didn't, we had McGill Associates do stormwater outfalls. That's these kind of final points where the water drains from a pipe to, or curb and gutter or something, to a receiving stream, lake, that kind of thing. Is possibly update that, because we've had a lot of growth since 2007, and so we may need some updating of our stormwater outfalls, as this could impact some of the work we're doing here. That's a little more water quality stuff than just stormwater flow, but, so those were kind of our feedback on this, and please, you have other comments, thoughts on this that come up, let me know. But I'd like to then, like this week, hit this hard and start working on making some revisions on this and working with staff, so.
Absolutely.
All right, what questions, comments, concerns do we have with this, and are we good with staff getting another revision? And
I mean, I'm good with
Back to
about
us.
everything you said up to, the 30,000, up to 30,000 max, I agree with that. I agree with staff assisting with owners. Like you said, that, I agree with what they said about the stormwater team and advisory panel, who that is. That sounded really good. Also, the liabilities of long-term maintenance, I think that's already in the contract.
Yeah.
With the owners, make sure that they cover it. Given like the complex issues with stormwater, have our council, the attorney look at it at 100%. The funding, 100,000, it sounds like with other agencies right there, with all of them, 100,000 looks like it will cover this project pretty easily, hopefully. And then the invoices for, if you could, in June, I know if we started this probably July 1, it probably could have, within a year's time, so we could see the flex. So, yeah, I agree with what the staff has come up with, and come up with a revised thing with this right here. Do you guys have software that does
I
edit?
needed to ask you if you can send me a Word.
No, this is, I just got to edit. For me, I use a PDF editor, so I can take any PDF and edit it however I want it. So,
Okay.
do you guys have anything like that software?
I haven't used it. I know with the latest software, if I open that PDF, if I have Word open, and then I open that
Yeah.
document, it converts it to.
Because I know sometimes when you convert it to
But then
Word,
it's-
it will jumble it up. So getting that may be something in the future, it's about to look at.
Yeah.
It's not that much expensive, like
Yeah.
$125 or
Okay.
something like that. But where you can open up any PDF and you can sit there and edit it however you want it and
Okay.
save your PDF.
Yeah, that does.
Yeah, I think that it's probably need to look at purchase.
Yeah.
Purchase it.
So you don't
Susan
have.
knows a trick to that,
That's it.
I think.
So, but let me know.
Yep,
So-
yeah. So we'll get to work on that. I just need to start making edits.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah, sounds good. Any other questions, comments? Nope. All right, thank you, Mark, and everybody else that looked at that.
Yes.
All right, moving on to your town manager's report.
Okay, thank you. Park repairs, I know I shared a fairly decent update, or complete, I think, from where we're at. What I'm calling Phase 2, which is the kind of final bulk of our repairs out there, which is the stream bank repairs and then the bridge. They've made a good amount of progress on the bridge right now, and they're actually pouring concrete tomorrow.
Nice.
And if that goes smoothly and the weather looks really good the rest of
That's
this
like a
week,
10-day drive.
yeah, they could within a week essentially be done with the bridge, so.
Would that open up that trail then?
Yes, it would open,
So-
and they've done work on the other side
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
of the trail, so Parks and Rec, and big shout out to Public Works as well, they've helped with getting the trails ready on the other side of the bridge. But, yeah, the stream bank part, you all know, down by Mills Gap is done and looks good. I don't know if it's been fully inspected yet, but the trails on the other side of the bridge, they've worked on them because it needed some TLC over there. And yeah, the bridge, if all goes smoothly now, we're maybe a week away.
That's great, yeah.
So I know people are really anxious to start
Very much so.
crossing there and using that. And then they'll do that stream bank repair in the main portion of the park, and then they're done. And that really, I mean, we've got a new electronic board ordered for the sign board, so that'll be going in. The electrical work is done in the park. I've talked a lot about the the multi-use courts and ball fields and all the big first phase. And that, they're working, and they've done a bunch of the punch list items, so we're getting close to that kind of being fully done. I mean, it's being used, those facilities now. Let's see, nothing really more from last week on Town Center. I talked a little bit about some meetings we had with retail strategies and also getting them connected with some private property owners here. The Fall Community Appreciation Day, again, that's coming up, and that's a community shred event and medication turn-in or pill drop with the police department. And that's going to be on October the 24th from 10 to 2 at First Citizens Bank. And thank you to First Citizens, again, of being a very active partner in this. And there's going to be food out there again, as in prior year. And then ABCCM is going to be out there as well, accepting donations. The last thing I wanted to mention was the Fall Family Festival. Just a reminder, that's coming up in a couple weekends. So not this weekend, but the following weekend, Saturday, September 20th. And that will be from 4 to 7. You've got on the dais here a copy of the flyer, and then underneath that is the
Location?
Yeah, the location and all the vendors, and so I just want to applaud our Parks and Rec staff for putting together a nice lineup of fun out there. I mean, they'll have a lot of, they'll have the bounce houses, they're going to have pony rides and llamas and quite a few vendors out there with crafts and other things, about 31, 4 food trucks and some different food trucks with, actually I guess it looks like a total of almost 8 food vendors out there.
And also our police department, I guess, too.
Yes.
Family Fun Festival from 4 to 5. Fletcher Police will be playing basketball against Fletcher Fire. Watch the movie.
I forgot about that, yeah. Thank you for the reminder. Your point guard or? Your cheerleader? Okay.
He's the center.
The center, all right.
Who's on the roster there?
Yeah, so,
We got a big old crew playing. I'm not sure on the fire side who's playing, but we got probably 10 people.
do they have to be rostered for the fire department or with the fire department?
What's that?
Does it have to be actually a volunteer with the fire department or just a firefighter?
Well, I mean, we coordinated with Fletcher Fire.
Okay.
Who they bring to the table, I'm not gonna know the difference. But ultimately, we're playing, we're doing a fundraiser in November, we're playing the Veritas, we're playing the high school team as a fundraiser. We're probably gonna get killed in that.
probably.
So, we're playing fire here at the festival, that's kind of gonna be like a strict practice meeting for us.
Yeah.
We might fare okay.
Well, for Veritas, just go out there and have fun. Yeah.
Don't get hurt.
That should be entertaining. Yeah, don't miss that. But a nice lineup of things to do for the community and family. And we'll have a band out there too. We've got Gotcha Groove, who we've had before, so we'll have music out there. And so I just want to point that out and remind you. And that's all I had.
All right, any questions for Mark? All right, any other business from council? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, adjourn.
We got a motion to adjourn in a second.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We are adjourned.
Go Bears.
And go Bears.
Give Robert a call.